So again, the beauty of, we call it that, the imperceivable, this continuum, is that it's not in any way in conflict with any form. In a sense, it doesn't matter if your form, your personality is totally conditioned and inherited and predetermined, or whether it's unique and original and you made it up the other day. It doesn't make any difference. It's still doesn't need to be your prison. And the more we can fall back into this source of ourselves, this which is always here, the less we're imprisoned the less we are imprisoned by any form, because all the forms are needed at some stage. And our freedom of taking form is always going to be a function of our ability to sit behind form, this fallback position, or source position. We have so many programs in our minds of how we would like to see ourselves. I am a generous person. I am always kind. At least I do no harm. All kinds of stuff like this. And each one of them is dancing in a duality with its opposite, in a way. You could be the most generous person in the world. That wouldn't mean that at some stage you might not need to be mean. You can always say yes, 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 but if you take away your right to say no, that this might not also be needed sometime. So all of this freedom beyond belief structures about who we are and what we are is made possible by this fallback into a position which is beyond fear, basically. Now, why would this imperceivable source be beyond fear? What would it need to have in its quality to move to be totally free of fear?
Unity. The sense of the unity.
Eternal.
What did you say now?
Eternity. Eternity, unity, purity. And it's interesting because all of these are non-dual qualities. All of these qualities exist at source. These are all qualities of that. But perhaps that one of the greatest reasons that it's beyond fear is that there's no threat of loss. It can't be lost. It's the one thing you can say about this space, about that, is that you never can get rid of it. Even if you want to lose it, you can put layers and layers and layers and layers on top of it, always it comes back again. Because the layers collapse, the layers do get lost. The body gets lost, the mind gets lost, the ideas get lost, the partners get lost, the good times get lost, the bad times get lost, but this is always here. Also, in this, it's really, really beyond judgment. Meaning, it's utterly the same if you're totally blind drunk and living on the street, or if you're running a multinational company, or if you're a guru on a mountain fully enlightened. It's not going to change. It's always already here. It's the same if we are in coma, or knocked out, or fast asleep, or if we're, skipping through the meadows in pure vitality. It's always the same. So it's fearless.
Yes, Noah?
Does inanimate objects have their own deadness? Because I see the candle has its death.
What's his question?
It's a question.
He asks if inanimate objects have their own thatness.
Because I can sense behind the veil.
Okay, is there anything in this room that exists outside of your consciousness?
Everything. No. If I die, it still exists.
In this moment? Yeah, okay. Now you're being tricky.
It's clever.
That's part of the question.
Yeah.
So is it here when we're not here?
Okay, I will rephrase the question as we are also developed already. Is there anything in this room which exists outside of consciousness? Collective consciousness?
Perhaps.
Can you perceive anything without, now you make a contact position with thatness, fall into thatness before consciousness, meaning you release the consciousness and you unfocus the eyes and you look. Is it possible to have a separate thatness between you and the brick?
I had it for a second.
A separate thatness?
No,
One thatness?
it's one. Okay.
So are you saying things only exist in relationship to each other?
Yes. Things can only exist in relationship to each other. There is one universe. And everything on this universe is an expression of this one universe. We cannot say that we as humans are separate from the universe, because we can observe it. We are made from stardust. It's one. We're just an expression of this universe, as a flower is an expression of this universe, as this microphone is an expression of this universe.
It's utterly to do with resonance and the incredible refinement of the resonance and music as you move towards source. But at the same time, all vibration, because resonance is vibration, is only possible within the space, the container of space. So if it's vibrating particles, or waves of sound, it's all made possible by virtue of space. Whether the wave goes like this or like this is all a function of the space out of which it's coming. It's facilitated by the space. So in this sense, this thatness, this source continuum, is the same utterly whether it's a punk rock music band with the most horrendous discords or the music of the finest angels. It's the same. It's really utterly the same. This is the freedom. But the more we, in terms of our consciousness and awareness, the more we fall back or fall into thatness, the greater the tendency towards harmony and the greater the refinement. And this is, it sounds a bit abstract, but in these days we will continue and we start working with the only ways we can, which is really clear and obvious, and that's the senses.
And that's what?
The senses, the physical senses. And not just the 5 of them. Already now, I'm sure, walking through Glastonbury, you feel different energies, and I don't want to stand in this corner, there's something happening here under the ground. And so through the organs, the sense organs, of which the brain is probably the most important, as a sense organ, we are able to come to a layer of human experience which is perhaps the fulfillment of what it is to be human. You know, the senses are not are beautiful because they are not things that we kind of touch on the world which are closed on the other side. They are channels. Like listening is a channel. There is that pure thatness, listening through all the forms to thatness on the other side. When we listen, just following, opening and opening and opening, and this is why relaxation is important, as the listener, we find an inner expansion in which there is this kind of universal listener. And it's the same with all the senses. We suffer where our senses are blocked. So it's all to do with removing the obstacles, removing, letting the opening happen. Often, and this is a paradox, our senses are blocked precisely because we are so sensitive in that area. It's too much. And so we block it. Then we get migraines and all of this. So there's such a quality there once the nervous system is ready to open. Once we can find peace with being formed how we are as channels.
So my wife migraines is things she doesn't want to say.
I don't know your wife. And she's on a lot of medications.
No, she doesn't take them.
In general, migraines are it's a survival freeze.
Survival.
Freeze, a freezing of neural networks and survival, because some input is too much. Too much sensitivity. And at the same time, there is some kind of resistance to letting it through into the infinity on the inside. So there's a... Did I put my paddling motion?
No, it's absolutely great. But
Dr. Bart.
I again want to repeat a little bit what you said, because it's good to repeat it to really get it. So when we look at hearing, and I'm going to try to explain it very, very, very simply. Maybe you can move a little bit in experience with me. So normally when we listen, there is a person listening. You know, I'm listening to something. And when the person is listening and we hear a sound, and you're really silent inside, what you will see, you hear a sound, and your attention goes to the sound and grabs the sound. There's a bird. Bird. So, if we open up outwards our hearing, then, and we just withhold ourselves from grabbing, then sounds is just there, they're coming and going, and then we're not listening to the sounds, we grab all the time, this is the effects from the wind, but we are listening to the silence, to the spaciousness, to infinity, in a way, in which sounds are coming forward and disappear. This is a very, very relaxed position. This is when we are in meditation, in stillness, in silence, inside ourselves. So now we go a step further in what Georgi said. So then we can not only listen outside, but we can also listen inside. Outside to listen there's an infinite space. But inside there's also an infinite space. So it becomes a channel. And how do we do that? We do that by asking ourselves the question, what is listening? Who is listening? Go to the source. What is listening? Is it the ear? Yeah, but what is... Well, then you come into vibration, but if the ear is listening, something is aware of the ear. Something is getting the information from the ear. What is getting the information from the ear?
The brain.
The brain. So the brain is translated, but how come that we are aware of this translation, that we can hear? What is really listening? What is that? What is the one who is listening?
The connection.
Can you pinpoint the one who is listening? Can you say, okay, it's the brain which is listening? Is that the answer? Or is the brain like the ear, like, an organ which is in between, translating sound to something is aware of this, is conscious of the sounds. So what is that? What's that?
Maybe your whole body.
What?
Maybe your whole body is.
Who is seeing me? Who is seeing me right now?
Your inner self. Or, oh.
No, I'm asking her. What is seeing me?
What is seeing you?
Yeah.
I think my whole body.
Okay, so your whole body is seeing
Yeah.
me. Okay. Are you aware?
All the senses.
Yeah. Are you aware of your whole body?
Not always, no.
Now.
No.
Are you aware of your... Are you aware, conscious of you seeing me right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. What is conscious of you seeing me? What's that?
Maybe the ID?
Maybe.
It's the imperceivable.
This is where we move into the imperceivable. There is something,
Yeah,
you understand, there is something, I can hear myself hearing to the sounds outside.
yeah.
You understand? I am aware that I'm looking at you right now. I'm looking at you, I'm aware of my own body, relaxation of my own body, I can feel you, I can see you, I can hear you, and at the same time I'm aware of you and I'm aware of me. This is recognizable. So what is this aspect what is aware? What's that? This is the miracle of life. All the rest is just bodies, effects. But what's that? So we go one more step further.
Maybe the interaction, maybe the chords between energy chords or something.
That's all forms.
Yeah,
And so are you aware of me right now?
yeah.
I'm aware of you. Are you aware that I'm aware of you?
Yeah.
So what's happening to your awareness? Where does your awareness end and where does my awareness start?
I don't know, it's there.
Exactly. Where does it end? These are difficult questions, but interesting questions.
So then you said there's, I can't remember which of you, there's infinite space inside also. So because I can't perceive that as easily with my senses, how do you access that? That's just a knowingness.
It's just one way to say it. Another way to say it is there is no inside at all.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
And the next stage is if you listen and there's a sound and who is listening, what is listening, and it opens up. So what is listening through? To the one infinite space into the other infinite space. Are you really listening? Or is something listening through you?
Infinite is
oneindig.
Oneindig. Het reminds me of a lipstick. Infinity. That's how it can be done.
It's a very grounded way to remember the word infinity.
There is infinite is a lipstick in Holland. They sell in the Netherlands. It's the name of a lipstick. But she's.
It's the translation of another language.
So, to round up the somewhat dry talk about thatness, I'd just like to make the suggestion, but it's totally okay to, we would just like to make the suggestion. It's totally okay to discover it for yourself. But if there was one awareness sensing through us, could it be that this awareness is in a way the beloved? The beloved. It's the awareness of the beloved. Meaning the source of love, like feeling with loving hands or senses, seeing with loving eyes, moving with the breath of peace, peacefulness, deeply suffused with care towards every detail. I just make the suggestion because we tend to think that nothing is nothing and it's like a dead thing, and we really are talking about something soulfully alive.
But I find it difficult when there is a lot of input.
Yeah.
You're talking about my brain.
Yeah.
It happens when you have a lot of input and you can't
Yeah.
handle it.
But
How can you cope with that when you have, and it's busy and there's a lot of things around you?
yeah.
You have to blend with it?
The art is really not to grasp, not to hook onto anything that comes in. There is so much to be perceived.
Yeah.
And it gets crowded because we take this and this and this and this and this and this, and we don't want this and this. So this is the stress in the selectivity, conscious or unconscious. If you imagine you are the spectacles, your eyes are the eyes of the beloved, that doesn't choose, doesn't judge, or there are more here, actually, the eyes of the beloved, then there's much less. It's not saying anything about you as an individual. You are the organs of the beloved, in a way. And so, whether Yanni likes this or needs this or has to avoid this, or this is not so important anymore. This is the shift in awareness that is possible. It's more like a flowing awareness, in which we kind of allow ourselves to be vehicles of perception. Perception to something much bigger than any individual.